Brand new information emerging this morning about the shooter, Omar Mateen's former co-workers and ex-wife, alerting authorities to his violent behavior. He was investigated not once, but twice by the FBI. What else do we know about him? For that, I'd like to bring in Naveed Jamali, a U.S. Naval Reserve Intelligence Officer and Military Times contributor. Good to have you here this morning. What else do we know about this man?
Well, I think that there's an interesting nexus dating back to 2013, 2014. Specifically, you had two incidents that happened. One is you had a nexus to the Boston bombings. We had a suspect that was interviewed who was eventually shot and killed by the FBI. And we also had Abu Salah, who the Florida man who eventually went to Syria and killed himself. He was a suicide bomber who's alleged to have known Matisse. So I think that there's one big question, which is, what is the nexus between this man and those two other individuals, if there is one? It's certainly, I'm an intelligence guy. Coincidences are generally not coincidences. The fact that these two men were in that region, were in that area, and have clear connections to terrorism is disturbing. And I think that's probably why the FBI was investigating.
The question I feel like we're all getting this morning is, why was a man like this, who had a history as such, he was investigated twice by the FBI in very recent years, able to go out and buy two guns just before this attack? Well,
I think that's a very simple legal question. He simply was not accused nor convicted of a crime. He wasn't on any, as far as I know, any watch list. And you know what? To be fair, the FBI interviews thousands of people, and you can't put everyone on a list. So it's up to the investigator, the person in the room, to say, gut feeling, something doesn't feel right, something, and in this case, it just doesn't seem like it.
Can we layer on the fact that Omar Mateen's father hosted an anti-American television show, once called the Taliban our warrior brothers, and very publicly online exhibited what some would call suspicious behavior?
No, listen, I agree with you, and again, this is the biggest question. There are indications and warnings that there is something amiss here. But if you can't find any additional legal evidence, and first of all, you can't arrest. But secondly, look, he wasn't going to Syria. He wasn't harboring. He wasn't moving money. I don't know exactly what more they could have done. And this is a problem with the rules that exist in place today. I mean, we should be putting people on watch lists. We should, at a minimum, if someone suspects them of being involved in something, they shouldn't be able to buy a gun. I mean, that seems like common sense. But what is the mechanism to do that? I don't know.
All right, so we know this morning that the president doesn't have any public events, but he's going to be have this security briefing. We know that FBI Director James Comey will be there, DHS Secretary Jay Johnson, the director of the NCTC, and Deputy Attorney General will all be attending this security briefing. They will obviously be briefed on this man. What more will we learn, do you expect today, about him?
Well, I think the big question is, was this directed terrorism? And what I mean by that is, was there a command and control element that was back in Syria, outside of this country, that was actually directing and funding and training this? That's the big question, because that would lead to whether there's this larger cell, there's a network here. That's the first question we have to, establish. If this was a lone wolf, then it's a totally different mechanism.
I want to get to this. It's sound from author and Dr. Sebastian Gorka. He was on with Maria on Mornings with Maria yesterday, Sunday morning futures, I should say. Very powerful words. Listen.
Maria, we need to stop using words like shocking. Nobody should be shocked. This is what they have been planning to do. After Paris, after Brussels, nobody should be surprised. Likewise, this isn't to be called a tragedy. This isn't an Amtrak train being derailed. This is part of the global jihadi strategy. It's not an accident. It is war against America. And lastly, please, please, I beg my colleagues in the U.S. government, we have to stop talking about this maybe being a hate crime. It's not a hate crime. It is part of an ideological military assault on the United States of America.
Your thoughts?
I agree with him. I mean, it's clearly an act of terrorism. The big question is it a singular lone wolf attack, or is it a directed attack? And that is what we don't know. But I have to say, the fact that there's a connection back to these two gentlemen from 2013, 2014 is questionable.
And Leif, earlier you said it doesn't matter whether this was a lone wolf attack or not.
Yeah, I think we're focused on that in kind of a 9/11 mindset, that we want to cut the head off the snake and go back. And look, I certainly understand from an intelligence perspective that's what our military law enforcement are trying to do. But But the reality is the same number of people are dead, whether
Absolutely.
it was connected directly to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi or not. And I think, for me, Dr. Gorka is exactly right. I mean, we've got to combat the ideology. We know this is coming. It's going to happen elsewhere if we don't step up and do something about it.
All right, Naveed, Jamali, great of you to be here this morning.
You.
Thank you.